What's good, everybody? Welcome to the book review show with your boy Glenn, aka Maurice. That is my middle name for those who don't know. I just want to say I'm thankful and grateful for everybody that's tuning in, whether you listen to the audio version or you watching the video. Hope you get a lot out of today's book. I'm really excited for today's book. We're going to be knocking out, attacking, and just really discovering and realizing the layers and level of our fear. And today's book is The 50th Law by 50 Cent and Robert Greene. Now, again, before we get into the book, as always, I just want to introduce the book. This is book number 12. If you've been following along in the book review series, this is number 12. Last book we did was The Richest Man in Babylon. And specifically why I'm doing this book now is just so the basis of it is it discusses and breaks down the layers and level of fear. Like from historic time to now, and just how some things have not changed, and explains the mindsets in which it takes to overcome fear and unlock a new self-confidence to live fully. So yeah, and again, that is by 50 Cent and Robert Greene. And regardless of how you feel about 50 Cent, this book in particular, and him being able to team up with Robert Greene. Yeah, Robert Greene is the guy. So if you heard of the book 48 Laws of Power, I'm sure you heard of the book 48 Laws of Power. Who hasn't heard of the book 48 Laws of Power? There's like some people who like live by the 48 Laws of Power and try to unlock all of the 48 laws and live by them. Yes. Yeah, that's Robert Greene. He's a philanthropist. He's most known for his 48 Laws of Power book. He has some other books. But yeah, he teamed up with 50. And we all know who 50 is. Again, regardless of how you feel about 50, he does it all, you know? And he's actually really strategic and he really perseveres through everything. And so regardless of how you feel about him, he's a great business exec. And everybody knows power. We all love power, right? That's 50. I don't necessarily watch it, but the world does. And that's all that matters, you know? As you can see, he creates good content. So yeah, that's why I wanted to bring this book to you guys. It is really good. But without further ado, let's get into the book. Get some to my highlights and takeaways. Again, I always start off with my favorite quote. My favorite quote from the book is, "The greatest fear people have is that of being themselves." And now going into this, I'm going to just, because the whole book has a lot of gems throughout. Again, I'm going to be honest. So with this book too, how I kind of felt about it is the start of each chapter is kind of redundant. Like when you read it, they all kind of start kind of the same. That was like one of the things that I would like to have it been better. But other than that, all the sections of the book, every chapter of the book has a lot of gems in it, and just it breaks down like the layers of fear. But yeah, so let's start off. We're gonna start off with each chapter, each section. We're gonna start off with the 50th law section and get into my favorite like takeaways and quotes from it. So in the first chapter section is the 50th law section. And my favorite quote from that section is, "The power of reversal. Overcoming the negative of particular fear leads to a positive quality, self-reliance, patience, supreme self-confidence, and more." And that was my favorite line in that section. Again, there's a lot of it. I don't want to give too much of the book away, but yeah. And so in the next section, so chapter 2, "See Things for What They Are," or Intense Realism section, a couple of my favorite quotes were, "Reality has its own power. You can turn your back on it, but it will find you in the end, and your inability to cope with it will be your ruin," which is a really, really good. Meaning, no matter what, you have to deal with reality, and if you can't, it's gonna come back to get you, because no matter what, reality is reality, you know. And then my other one that I really liked in that section was see everything as a source for education. So no matter what's going on, just be okay with just whatever's going on. See it as a source to grow and learn. You know, whether it's good or bad, it's just all about how you see it. So see everything as a source of education. It's a moment to learn. And I like that. So going on to chapter 3, make everything your own, or self-reliance section. My takeaway in this section was, or my favorite quotes in this section were, our task as an adult is to take full possession of that autonomy and individuality we were born with to finally overcome the dependent phase in childhood and stand on our own. So, yeah, that just spoke to me saying, you know, as we grow, the goal and task is to become, you know, ourselves and, you know, begin to feel like, you know, get away from relying and depending on our, you know, our childhood, you know, dependencies. And so I really like that because it's a huge thing, you know. It's a huge task. It's not nothing easy, but it's important. And then another one I like there, your life must be a progression towards ownership. First, mentally, owning yourself mentally, then physically, all the things you have. So, and I really like that. That was a really, really fire quote. Next one is the turn shit into sugar, or opportunism section. And I like my favorite quotes in this section was, the truth is that life is by nature harsh and competitive. Can't get away from it. You know? Can't get away from it. Life is harsh and competitive. It is what it is. You got a lot of people in the world, a lot of things to do. You're not the only one trying to do it. And that's just the truth. And another quote, I like this. Things merely happen to you. It is your mind that chooses to interpret them as negative or positive. So you just got to see it as a lesson. You got to see it as an opportunity. You got to see it as something positive, no matter what. And he had actually mentioned that in the earlier section, see everything as education. My other line I liked in this one was, obstacles force your mind to focus and find ways around them. And a quote that's not in this book that my grandpa always tell me is that the struggle is the highest form of education. You know, and I really like that because this quote made me remember that quote he always mentions, that obstacles force your mind to focus. So when something happens that's new, you're forced to figure it out, how to get out of the situation or how to, you know, overcome the situation. So I really like that one. Then, so the next chapter is the keep moving, or momentum section. My favorite quote in that one is, it is not only what you do that must have flow, but also how you do things. Strategies, your methods must adapt to circumstances. I really like that one because, like, you know, you can be doing certain things, but it's also how, you know. A big thing that I've been following is that, you know, it's about your systems, you know. It's about like, how are you going to get things done? Not just what are you trying to get done. It's like, how are you doing it? Because you won't move forward if you're not doing the right things to accomplish what you're trying to do. So I like that quote. And then another quote in that section that I really liked is, momentum in life comes from increased fluidity, a willingness to try more in a less constricted fashion. Constricted fashion. Meaning your ability to, you know, be able to switch things up, like, you know, if you have to, and be like, kind of like Mystique, you know, like Mystique from X-Men. Be willing to kind of, you know, maneuver into different like people within yourself, you know, be able to become, you know, these different and move in these different ways. So yeah, I really like that one. And so the next section is the know when to be bad, aggression section. This section particularly was really good. If when you read the book, it's really good because it just hits you with some cold hard facts. But my favorite, so I'll give you my favorite lines. It says, "Before it is too late, you must master the art of knowing when and how to be bad." And that was my favorite one. And then I have another one: the inability to deal with what is inevitable in life is the cause of so many problems. Like our ability to want to act like things don't happen or that things aren't what they are is the cause of so many of our issues, you know? Because people want to act like there's not bad people in the world, there's not, war going on, there's not, whatever the case may be, and that's the cause of so many problems, and that goes back to the intense realism section where you have to see everything for what it is, but that's a layer of fear that we have. We don't want to tap into figuring that out. But yeah, going to my next quote is in this section is we must learn to recognize the situations that require assertiveness yet controlled actions, and which mode of attack, whether that be a fox or a lion, is suitable for the situation. And that's fire. I really like that quote because one thing that happens when we tap into like the bad or like, becoming aggressive or becoming just more, how would I say it? Becoming more assertive for yourself. Some people just take it to where like they become like Hulk, and they don't know how to manage the situation of when to be kind of sly and slick about it or when to like be a lion and be really aggressive about it. And I like that quote because it's a reminder that there's different ways and times and levels of being bad. So yeah, that is the know when to be bad aggression section. Going to the next one, lead from the front or authority section. My favorite quotes from this one is, to be a leader often requires making tough choices and getting people to do things against their will. And man, if that isn't true, and in these times and days, it's like almost like pulling teeth. But a leader and it says that this in the book, a leader these days just has to be willing to kind of navigate and push all those things to the side. No matter what you're doing, if you have a tribe or you're trying to lead a tribe, you have to be willing to just be yourself and understand all those things and just still push through with the mission. But with that being said, let me go to my next quote. A group of any size must have goals and long-term objectives to function properly. And that's, man, this is it's like I said, it just reminders. That's the great thing about books. It's just reminders. When you're doing something and then someone reminds you, hey, so for me, basketball player, or like I exercise, and you doing something, you do it often, where you like feel like you know what you're doing. Say you just go and doing like a push-up, and someone's just like, hey, remember you gotta tuck your elbow when you push up, or when you don't shoot that jump shot, make sure you follow through. And it's like you look at them like, and then you do it, and you're like, oh yeah, it's just a reminder. That's what I love about books, man. They're just great reminders. And I like this one. A group of any size must have goals and long-term objectives to function properly, because you have to look at any group that you may follow or that in history, if they don't have long-term objectives, they will not function properly. And that's something to always remember. And I like that quote. Another quote in this section is, operating with a mission statement is an effective way of softening your image and disguising the extent of your power. And so what that really means is, again, having a long-term goal. Having a high overarching purpose for what you're doing and being like bold and solid about it, you can then like, you don't have to be so strong. You can be like, hey, you're talking to a group or, as a leader, talking to your people like, hey, this is the mission. And so then they don't necessarily have to look at you so strong. They could be like, oh, our mission is this. And so then that allows you to still maintain your control and power that you have, So yeah, that is the lead from the front authority section. And the next section is knowing your environment from the inside out, or connection section. And this one was really good too. I had a lot of quotes from this one, so bear with me. The first quote is, never lose touch with your base. If you don't know who your people are, you're not gonna do nothing. That's like trying to form a basketball team with people who like soccer or people who like football. Like at the end of the day, they're gonna go to what they like. You'll never be able to, you'll never be able to really reach them and touch them and get them to buy in. Because you won't. So yeah, next one. When we are confronted with people or individuals who have different values and belief systems, we feel threatened. Man, don't we? Isn't that like an ism right there? When we are confronted with people or individuals who have different values and belief systems, we feel threatened. And that is super common. We can see that in today's society, especially, I can't speak for every country, but here in America, goodness gracious, when someone has a different belief system or values something differently than we do, we're almost like, oh, you don't like so-and-so? Oh my gosh. Like someone who may love anime or cartoons or whatever the case may be, they're like, how could you not love Iron Man and Captain America? Or how could you, whatever the case may be, we often feel threatened. And that is a source of fear and lack of self-confidence. Because you feel like when people oppose or may not necessarily agree with everything you believe and value, that is something wrong. And that is just not right. So I love that. I love that quote. And then my next quote in this one is, the way to power in this world begins with a fundamental fearlessness. You do not feel afraid or affronted by people who have different ways of thinking or acting. So no matter what people think or how they feel, you're like, hey, you're an individual. You have the free will, God's will, to do what you want to do and believe in what you want to believe and act how you want to act. It's not going to stop me. And I love that. This next one is, in this day and age, to reach people, you must have access to their inner lives, their frustrations, aspirations, resentments, etc. And to do so, you must crush as much distance as possible between you and your audience. Enter their spirit and absorb it from within. And I really like that one because that was one of the final quotes of the section, and I really like that one because what it says, to reach people and to communicate and to just to really get an insight of how they really feel, you must crush as much distance as possible. Not overstep your boundaries, but talk to people, man. No matter how you feel about them, if you to really get an understanding of how people feel and, to reach people and to start to engage, you got to talk to people. And then that's when you can get to understand what people are frustrated about, what people like looking for, etc., etc. And so that's what I really liked about that quote. And last one is, communication is a power of intensity, not extensity in numbers. So again, communication, when you are communicating with people and getting to reach out and spread your message and get to know people, it's not about extending yourself and who's listening. It's about focusing on your control group. The next section we got the respect the process or mastery section. Another great section, another great chapter. Favorite quotes from this one is the fools in life want things fast and easy. Money, success, attention. Boredom is the great enemy of fear. Man, you see it all the time. I'm going to just leave it at that. The real secret, there's another quote. The real secret, the real formula for power in this world lies in accepting the ugly reality that learning requires a process. Until you really accept that, nothing in life happens overnight. And I like a song, I want to say that Benny the Butcher or Conway, the rapper, has said not too long ago. It's like, people think it happened overnight, but I've been doing this for many nights. So which night did it happen overnight? I really like that. Yeah, shout out to Griselda. Another quote in that section is, to master any process, you must learn through trial and error. Fire quote. You're not gonna learn nothing if you don't try. That's how you do it. You gotta, when you're cooking, you don't just cook the fire recipe the first time. And if you do, next time you might not do it. So it's all about just trying, And you may even come up with something even better. Trial and error. Next quote is, when you take time to master a simple process and overcome a basic insecurity, you develop certain skills that can be applied to anything. Man, and that's so true. Again, simple thing as being able to adopt one habit and staying consistent with it. So adopting consistency, you develop that skill to apply to anything. Yeah, that is the respect the process mastery section. Now we got the push beyond your limits or self-belief section chapter. My favorite quotes in this one is, who you are is much more chaotic and fluid than this surface character. You are full of untapped potential and possibility. Yes, you are. I like that quote. Because it's just like a reminder that we're a mystery to ourselves. Like we are. As much as we try to make it sound we know who we are, we're continuously growing, continue to find out different levels of ourselves. And we are so much more than like what we think we are. We're full of untapped potential and possibility. Anything is possible. Like KG said, anything is possible. Yes, anything is possible. And that quote just kind of is a reminder that, hey man, you are much more than what you think you are. You are full of whatever you want to become. And I like that one. And you have to believe that. It says, when you raise your opinion of yourself and what you're capable of, it has a decided influence on what you do. So once you raise your self-esteem, once you raise your self-respect for yourself and self-understanding of yourself, man, the things that happen to you are like, can't even explain, makes waves. You reach new levels in life once that happens. The other quote I have is, the need to conform and please others will always play a role in our actions, consciously or subconsciously. Facts. To be completely free is impossible and undesirable. You are merely exploring a freer range of action in your life and the power it could bring you. Yes. So that quote just reminded me that, like, when we're doing something, no matter what, no matter how prideful we want to say or what ego that we don't care what people think, in some ways we do consciously or subconsciously care what someone thinks. So not caring what anyone thinks is like, it's undesirable and it's impossible, because you don't care what someone thinks. Someone, it may not be the people in your circle, it may not be the outsiders. Someone. And so, like, not trying to please someone is undesirable and it's not gonna happen. It's impossible. But you can and you will and you should explore a freer range of action without taking all those opinions and beliefs and thoughts to experience the power and fullness in life that it brings you. Just becoming more of yourself. So I like that one. I like that quote. And the last chapter section is Confront Your Mortality, or the sublime section. We all be running from this. We all gonna die. So I like some quotes in this one. It says, if we can overcome the fear of death, there's nothing left to fear. If you know you're gonna die, if you can really accept that one day you're gonna die, what else do you have to fear? Do what you want to do, because you're gonna die. But not in the stance of like YOLO. Don't YOLO it. Don't just be irresponsible and let me finish this. If we run away from this reality by avoiding the thought of death, we are really running away from ourselves. We're running away. See you later. Yeah, man, I really, really enjoyed this section because it breaks all of it down. It comes down to the ultimate fear is death and fear itself. We do a lot of things because we're scared to die. But we don't do a lot of things because we're scared to die. You see? But once you can accept that you're going to die, that death is guaranteed, you unlock a lot of things. You can do whatever you want. And I really enjoyed these quotes because they're just reminders again that, hey, confront your mortality. You're going to die. So do the things that you want to do. Do the things that you are passionate about. Don't just go and doing crazy stuff. Don't party all day. Don't do that. But do the things you are passionate about. Because no matter if it's your inner circle or what, the people that you really care about, when you start doing the things you care about, you are going to influence, you are going to inspire, and you're going to motivate people in ways that you never, ever thought you could, because you're doing what you want to do with the understanding that time is limited. There's a Dom Kennedy song, 125 on his Yellow album, that I've been listening to a lot. And he starts the song off by saying, we're going to die. So it's up to you. And I really, really like that. You know, sometimes it's cold. It can feel like it's a negative thing. Like, man, don't talk about death. But look, it's here. It's going to happen. But life, the life you're living right now, take advantage of it. Yeah. And that is all of my takeaways and highlights from the 50th Law. Again, great book. A lot of gems in there, just a lot of reminders. And again, like I said, the only thing that I probably would have changed in this book is that every section kind of starts off the same. So like when you get to the start of every chapter, it's kind of like you're revisiting the same thing. I almost thought when I was reading the book that I was actually rereading pages, because some chapters actually legit almost start the exact same. But nonetheless, once you get to like where it start hitting off with the gems, every section has its own like great gems. And again, it all is around the theme of fear and really just breaking down, you know, and just discussing the levels of fear and how to overcome it. And so yeah, thank you guys for sticking with me, listening or watching. We'll be back for the next book, The Way of the Superior Man. I'm excited to get that book. But until next time, y'all be great. Leave a comment, share with your friends, your family. Let me know what's one of your greatest fears, or which section that you really enjoyed from what I gave. Again, until next time, y'all be great, champs.